All right, so the Toronto Raptors and Orlando Magic played Game 3 yesterday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time at Amway Center, and this game, this game was in many ways a must-win for the Magic. They had done a decent job in stealing away Game 1, and Game 2, they got hit pretty fucking hard. So they really wanted to come in and continue to defend their home court advantage that they managed to wrestle away from the Raptors. Now, if you're the Raptors in this game, you need to win Game 3. As even though I'm saying this and it sounds a little bit redundant, the Raptors want to win Game 3 because they need to retake home court advantage and potentially end this in 5 games, right? Now, in the first quarter of the game, turnovers were not being capitalized on by both teams. You had a few by the Magic that Toronto couldn't get buckets by, and the same thing goes otherwise. Now, I noticed immediately that Kawhi was being focused hard this game. The Magic were daring anybody else on the Raptor team to beat them, and for a while, it did not look good for Kawhi. In fact, he had a pretty off night, which was later revealed to be partially at least due to illness. I think he had like 6 turnovers. He was 5 from 17, an off game to his very impressive Game 2. Now, while Kawhi was being essentially limited severely, Vucevic was entirely neutralized this game by Marc Gasol. Magic could not get him going. The Orlando Magic knew that they had to get Vucevic, some easy buckets so he could start to heat up, get some confidence, and really carry them and establish, a post offense or a threat in the paint. Without Vucevic, that entire Magic offense is predicated on shooting jumpers, whether that be mid-range or three-pointers. And we saw the Raptors just swarm them and run them off the line, and they couldn't get in the paint because they don't really have a presence there. Evan Fournier, I don't want to talk about how much this guy shot for, but you can just see right here, 1 for 12, 1 for 8 from 3. This is really good on the Raptor defense, and this just proves the point that without Vucevic, who still had a decent night because he caught fire in the third, that without him going off on all cylinders, this is not enough. 22 points, no. He needed to be facilitating the offense with assists and everything. Great job by Marc Gasol for isolating him and essentially, making him a non-factor. And Gasol really stepped up this game. He's been good in all the games so far, but this game, I have to say, was his best game. In the first quarter, he was carrying the Raptors on defense when their offense wasn't getting too good. He got 2 steals, and he was being very aggressive on the defensive end. He wasn't, settling and waiting for the offense to come to him. He was actively looking to interrupt passing lanes, and he did just that. His offense was really good as well this game overall. He managed to knock down a couple threes, I think. Let's just actually take a quick look. Yeah, he knocked down a 3 and a couple of other, mid-range jumpers or layups. So really impressed with Gasol. This is exactly why the Raptors traded him, so that they had a big man to facilitate and anchor their defense/offense. Now, something else I want to get into regarding Kawhi in the first quarter. Aaron Gordon from the Magic did a very decent job in guarding Kawhi. He forced Kawhi into difficult positions, and credit to him, Kawhi didn't make them. Despite his illness, he just was not comfortable. I knew this was going to be an off game from Kawhi when he missed his favorite spot shot. He drives down the right of the lane and hits a corner mid range or something along the lines of that, right? And yeah, good job by Aaron Gordon. Now, this game, the physicality of this series in general has definitely tuned up. From game 1, you saw things weren't as physical. Game 2, it got a little bit more, but game 3, man, people are literally over the backing each other, or just throwing in a quick elbow that can't be seen by the refs, or throwing their weight into other players' bodies, and calls are not being, whistled. Very, very aggressive, and both teams were able to play through that. Now, you could argue that because Tony Brothers was officiating the game, the calls were not being interpreted correctly, but it is what it is, right? The intensity, once again, way more than game 2, which was already a lot in the first place. Pascal and Gasol were essentially the MVPs of this game. Because Pascal Siakam, guys, this man started by the end of the first quarter. Pascal already had 12. Right? This is the fourth/third option on scoring, who can become the second option or first option when needed to. This is the missing piece. I know Kawhi was supposed to fill that, but he had an off night. This is one of the pieces the Raptors were so desperately missing in previous years' playoffs. Because what would happen is, like what's happening to the Magic right now, you take out the primary scorer, the focal point of the offense, Vucevic, right? Same with DeRozan. You take them out and you force the rest of the team to beat you. The Magic could not get it done in this game, and in previous years, when you took out DeRozan, you essentially isolated the only reliable scorer on the team, the only one who gets to the line, and your offense suffered as a result. Now, we go into the second quarter, and the first quarter is just a pretty decisive win by the Raptors. They established their, the presence. They're being aggressive. Great defense by Marc Gasol heading into the second. But yeah, moving into the second quarter, Vucevic is continuously, he's essentially, I think, not a factor in the second quarter once again. Kawhi at some point in the second has 5 turnovers, so back to the earlier point where he was not having a good night. I was, however, very happy to see that Norman Powell was actually hitting shots, and if Norm's firing on all cylinders, and everyone else is, it's going to be hard to beat this Raptors team because everyone can get a bucket in the right situation, right? Not everyone can create, but if they're open, right? There was some foul trouble on Lowry. I think he had 3 fouls early in the second. Nick Nurse gambled with him like he did Kawhi in Game 2, leaving him in there, and this gamble, I think, paid off, but at the time, I didn't really have opinion on the decision to do that. I just thought it was, okay, well, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Mainly because I'm unsure if he put Fred in there, there's a good chance our offense may have suffered, or that's a big question mark for me. I'm not really sure whether or not it was the right call, but it is what it is, right? So the Magic defense really starts to pick up in the second quarter. They start to force the Raptors into bad looks or just contested shots, and they managed to actually put together a string of stops. But the only problem is they're unable to convert. And throughout the game, we're here, it's bricks, clanks, whatever, and you can just take a look at the overall percentages. Obviously, you had Fournier. I'm not even going to talk about him, but DJ Augustine, he seems to have disappeared after Game 1. Jonathan Isaac, he was good overall, but not the best shooting percentages. Same with Aaron Gordon. The rest of the team, man, Michael Carter-Williams, Iwindu, they were not hitting their shots, and it really cost them. Because if they were able to actually get some offense for their defense, I think this game could have been a win by the Magic, or maybe even, a blowout by the Magic. But alas, it did not happen. Now, at the time, I was actually I was hoping that Nurse would consider swapping or subbing in Patrick McCaw, who was actually available tonight, to guard Ross, because he started to catch fire slightly in the second quarter, and we know that Ross is a very streaky shooter. So when he gets going, he gets going. And he proved to be a huge problem later down the road when the Magic made their comeback towards the fourth quarter. But moving on to the third, there's this one play that, oh man, it's Vucevic gets the ball and he's about to take it up, and Gasol smacks it all ball, and you can literally hear the sound of his hand clapping the ball, and he gets called for a foul, and I'm just like, okay, man, whatever. But that was, it was ferocious. Now, Vucevic in this quarter starts to actually heat up, and the reason for this was because Marc Gasol got another foul for actually clean stripping Vucevic. Or I don't think it was a clean strip. It was kind of hard to see, but I think he did foul him. But nonetheless, he picks up 4, gets sent straight to the bench. In comes Ibaka, and all of a sudden, Vucevic gets 9 straight points to put the Magic, within, I think, single digits of the Raptors. Now, if there were a time to capitalize on momentum, this would be the time for the Magic. They really needed to continue to feed off Vucevic, and by doing so, get the rest of their players to, actually start getting offense. But unfortunately, in this entire quarter alone, only Vucevic and Jonathan Isaac scored. And Isaac only had 1 bucket. So the rest all being Vucevic meant that while, great job, Vuce, you're on fire, nobody else could make a damn point. And that's going to be a problem. Well, that proved to be a serious problem for the Magic because once Gasol got back in, there goes Vucevic's offense. And we saw this because late in the third, Toronto goes on a massive run. And I think it was a 16-3 run. And Danny Green is actually able to match Vucevic's point contribution in the third quarter. So he basically negated any offense that Vucevic was providing. And I was a little bit impressed by Ibaka, I'm not going to lie, because historically speaking, in the regular season, Vucevic, when we had Jonas Valanciunas, demolished the Raptors. Even if you stuck Ibaka on him, Vucevic was still scoring a decent amount of points. So the end of the quarter closed out by 16-4, and we're heading into the fourth, and the Raptors have a sizable lead. And this is where, in the fourth quarter, even though if you're a fan of any team, you're always going to worry about the fourth quarter because throws happen, momentum shifts, everything can fall apart in the fourth quarter. And the Raptors almost fell apart in the fourth quarter this time, almost. The Magic were able to catch fire finally and put together a very decisive, not decisive, but a very strong run to put it within 10 points halfway through the fourth quarter. Now, they still don't have any interior offense at this point, and this is when Ross, I think, finally gets subbed in, and Ross starts making like shot after shot after shot, and Raptors, they start sweating because, Ross is going to 3 after 3 after 3, and at one point, it was getting a little bit concerning, and, Nick Nurse calls a timeout. And pretty soon, Toronto answers back with their own pair of points. So kind of a back and forth fourth quarter. But what I did notice at this point in the fourth quarter was that while Kawhi had a completely off night, Pascal, Gasol, and Danny Green were able to pick up his scoring load and essentially, say, we got you, Kawhi. It's okay. We got it. Now, I'm going to go to the final play of the fourth quarter as everybody is probably highlighting at this point. And that's Lowry's offensive rebound in that final possession. Orlando Magic, what are you doing, guys? If you're the Orlando Magic and Steve Clifford, you're literally furious because you let a 6-foot point guard who got 0 points in the first game get an offensive rebound over guys that are long as fuck. Right? So, like DJ Augustine, Lowry has now won his team a game and lost his team a game. So to close this off, I just want to, give a shout out to Siakam's heroics this game because when it was looking like nobody else could score in that third quarter and in the early fourth, Siakam answered the freaking call. This guy became the number one option late in the game, and no question, this guy is the most improved player. Look at this. Played the most minutes, 13 of 20, 3 of 4 from 3-point. One of those was a lucky 3-point shot at the end of when the shot clock was expiring in the second quarter. But nonetheless, 30 points, plus minus of 13, even though this doesn't really matter. 11 rebounds. Siakam's heroics really, sorry about that. Siakam's heroics really saved the Raptors tonight. If Siakam was not scoring, this game goes to the Magic 100%. Because with Kawhi out and Lowry no longer being able to score as he once did, you're essentially going to be relying on Danny Green, Norman Powell, and Marc Gasol to pick up the scoring load. No, Danny's a great spot-up shooter. Marc Gasol is really good for initiating offense, but none of them can go get buckets like Siakam right now. And OG Anunoby, he's not even back yet. So, yeah, very, very interesting game. I do want to also mention that the Magic were really good with the offensive rebounds in Game 1. I think it was kind of even in Game 2, but it just disappeared at the wrong time this game. And one more point about Evan Fournier. He was disastrous for the Magic, and I do really question Steve Clifford's decision to actually sub out Jonathan Isaac in the fourth quarter and just goes straight to Evan Fournier. Like, I know Isaac wasn't shooting well, but the man was doing a decent enough job putting some pressure on Siakam and, getting rebounds, and he was just out. And you could just see the camera pan to him being extremely frustrated on the bench towards the end of the game. So overall, blue and white ignited tonight, but it wasn't enough, and the Raptors take a commanding 2-1 lead. And the reason why I say it's commanding is because the Raptors played at the pace of the Magic. Usually the Magic score under 100 points. That's their kind of sweet spot. They like to slow things down, work their opponents on the offense and defense. Raptors played their pace tonight. Because if it were up to the Raptors, the Raptors' pace, I should say, is extremely fast transitions. You see Lowry always demand to get the ball immediately after the bucket because he wants to throw it half court or full court pass to a running Siakam or whoever's on the other side for a quick bucket, right? And usually this results in turnovers, but yada, yada, yada. That doesn't matter. What matters is the pace was played to the favor of the Orlando Magic, and they lost tonight. That's it for this one, guys. I'm going to see you after Game 4.